So imagine someone knocking at your door and telling you that he wants you to offer him a drink. And that the next day will come back again, but this time for lunch. And then within a week, he will invite himself for your cousin's wedding. I'm sure you're going to look at him and say, this guy is a weirdo. So actually in this story, I am the weirdo. I often knock at people's house and tell them that I'm an artist and I would like to create an art piece in the neighborhood. So the first day, they're really intrigued, and they don't know what's going on. The next day, they're curious, and they start talking to me. And the third day, they offer me a drink, and after a few days, they open their door to me and have lunch with them. And within a few weeks, I get actually invited to the cousin's wedding. So this is a true story. As an artist, when people ask me what I love the most, I always respond with the same answer. The human experience. Of course, as an artist, it's important. The artistic challenge is important. But all those little stories that I take back with me after every single project is what I cherish the most. I found those moments priceless. I collect them. So I collect moments. And I start having a great collection of moments. So I'm here today to tell you about some of those moments. I have a question for you. So how many of you have judged somebody today? You know, like judge somebody by the way they look? You? Thank you, Mo, for being honest. Thank you, Barbara. So by the way they look, the way they dress, you know, and I think as human, unconsciously, we all have this tendency to judge people based on our own perception of the world. You know, so I wanted to tackle this subject a few years ago, and I wanted to speak about perception. And my goal was actually to question the level of misconception and judgment we as a society can have on the community based on their difference. So I decided to go to the neighborhood of the Cairo garbage collector in Egypt. And the Cairo garbage collector neighborhood actually is known for being one of the most powerful recycling systems on earth. But still this Coptic community known as the Zaraib are perceived as dirty and segregated and marginalized because of their association with trash. So to bring light on this community, I decided to create an anamorphic piece, a piece that you can only see from a vantage point when you go on the Muqattam mountain in Cairo. You know, like in every single project that I do, at the beginning there is no real interaction with the community. I mean, they don't know what's going on, but fast enough, you know, some bond get created. And I remember the first house that we painted was the house of Uncle Ibrahim. Uncle Ibrahim was such a nice person, so enthusiastic, and I remember his kids, his son actually, and daughters, they saved me from his bull that tried to attack me on the fourth floor of his building. You know, in this community, they put their animals in some of this floor, and because they use them to recycle the organic waste. So Uncle Ibrahim was always hanging, you know, with me on the. I'm gonna check. Oh, sorry. I think there's a gap on the two screen, guys, but it's fine. Technical issue. So that was the bull I was talking about a few minutes ago. So I was saying Uncle Ibrahim was always hanging out, you know, on the balcony and talking to me, and I remember him. He was telling me that he didn't go to the mountain for 10 years. And that he said that if he stopped working, who will stop the garbage? And surprisingly, at the end of the project, he came on the mountain and he looked at the art piece, and he was really surprised to see, happy and surprised to see his house painted. And he said that the project was a project of peace and that he brought people together. At this time, I didn't really understand what he meant, but when I think of it, I believe that his perception toward the community, I mean, toward the project and toward us, I mean, my team and I, has changed. But also my perception toward the community has changed. You know, all this garbage that everyone is disgusted by is not theirs. You know, they just work out of it. So they don't live in the garbage, they live from the garbage. So I started doubting myself and questioning what was the real purpose of this project. It was not about beautifying a place by bringing art to it. It was about switching perception and open a dialogue on the connection that we have with community that we don't know. So day after day, the calligraphy circle that you can see behind me was taking shape, and me going on top of the mountain, standing at this exact point, I start wondering and realizing what was the symbol behind this art piece. Sometimes if you want to look at somebody, like if you want to see the real image of someone, you just have to switch your angle. You know, my piece, this one is in Egypt, most of them has disappeared, you know, they're ephemeral. Some last longer than others. And, you know, I'm not sad sometimes even if they get erased the day I'm done finishing them. You know, I used to be upset, but I'm not anymore. I think with age and with time, I understood that I do not own the street, and the street doesn't belong to my father. You know, I think that when you're in the public space, when you create art in the public space, it's made for the public to interact with it. And when I say public, I mean people and animals as well. You know, on this one, it's in front of the Opera of Dubai, and as you can see, there is two birds that decided to put their home inside this sculpture. There is a French, Romanian, or Romanian-French writer called Eugène Ionesco. He said that only the ephemeral last. I will add to this quote, only the ephemeral last in our memories. As an artist, I think that art for me is just a pretext to create art work, but mainly to create, not to create artwork, but the art is a pretext for me to create memories, shared memories that I have with all the people that I meet during all this project. I believe that art engages the young and the old. It unites us. It values our culture, our history, and our language. It allows us also to switch perception, the way we look at each other and the way we look at ourselves. But it also allows us to tell our own story and to bring new narrative, I would say, to the people. I'm sure many of you knows Romeo and Juliet. Who knows Jamil and Buthaina? Okay, 3 people out of 30. Okay, that's good. Thank you. So in the 7th century, in south of Medina, in a place called Wadi al-Qura, known today as Al-Ula, there was a beautiful love story of 2 people, Jamil and Buthaina. They were so in love, and Jamil was a poet. He used to write poetry about the love that he has for Buthaina, and those poems got spread all around the region. But when the father of Buthaina learned that actually those poems were addressed to his daughter, he took it as an insult, and he decided actually to not let them getting married. So actually they never be able to be together. And the legend said that Jamil died of sadness. So I wanted to tell the story to the world, the story of Jamil and Buthaina, by creating an artwork that will be a kind of metaphor of this fading love story, a kind of mirage. So I try to match in this sculpture the color of the sand. So I think art allows us to break our stereotype, you know, and we all have some stereotype. I remember when I finished this piece, somebody told me, oh, it's so nice to hear a love story coming from the Arab world. And, you know, we have so many, you know, but I think sometimes we condition by our environment. And me, as a person, have like stereotype about people, and I have stereotype actually about a certain population. And I think art allows me to break those stereotypes. You know, a few years ago, I was able to, actually I was lucky enough and privileged enough to visit the DMZ, the demilitarized zone between North and South Korea. And I went there actually to create this kind of utopic art piece, was a kind of symbolic bridge reuniting North and South Korea. Actually, the plan went totally in a different way, but I was actually able to create an art piece there. And I remember, you know, when I arrived at the handmade border, I was so surprised, actually. I had so many misconceptions on how North Korean will be perceived by South Korean. And also, you know, like I could see North Korea actually from where I was standing, you know. But unconsciously, when you think of North Korea, you see that the sky is gray. I was thinking that the sky was gray, monotone, and actually with no light, with no sun. But surprisingly, on this day, there was like some sunlight and the sky was blue. And I was also so surprised to see how South Korean were telling me, South Korean from different generations, telling me that they hope that one day the two countries will be reunited. So I start wondering and realize actually that on the other side of the fence there were people, like you and I, men and women, with like hopes and dreams, with emotions and need, striving for the same basic human rights, our desire for self-determination. I remember this woman called Kim Jae-hoon. She welcomed us in her home, and she offered us, I remember, some clementine and apples as she was sitting on her bed to tell her story. Her husband actually was from the north part of Korea, but he used to work in the south part of Korea at the time of the separation. And then he was never able to go back to North Korea where he had his daughter and his wife. So he stayed in South Korea and married Kim Jae-hoon. And Kim Jae used to tell me that every weekend she go to the church and she pray that one day, she pray for her family, of course, and she pray that one day, like the two Korea will be reunited. So I think she's a kind of beautiful reminder of our humanity and how sometimes we could be so irrational, and how people with the same language, with the same history, with the same culture can live separate from one another. I think when I try to recall the feeling that I had on this day, I think I feel love, I feel hope, and I feel humanity. And I think arts bring back our humanity, and this is what I see in most of my projects. I remember I was in Alger, and in Algeria, and I was painting this wall, and when I reached the 7th floor of the building, there's the window that you can see here, just open, and there's a woman, she came and she said, "My son, did you have lunch?" And I was like, "No, auntie, I will have lunch later." And then she handed me a tray with a plate of couscous, the traditional dish of Algeria, and I mean North Africa, and chicken. And I found that so amazing because, I was not expecting this. She was waiting for me to reach her floor so she can feed me. But when you speak about art, you speak about emotion, of course, and emotion sometimes could be fear. I remember I was in south of Paris, and there is this little village called Montry. They were trying to create this outdoor museum. So they invited the artists from all over the world to come paint on some of the inhabitants, some of the local houses. So I was supposed to paint on a house, and I started painting. And the owner of the house, when he saw that I was using Arabic script in my art, he got mad, and he wanted the piece to be erased. I was offended in a certain way, and I left. But the week after, the municipality of this little village, they called me. They say, "We would love to have you again, but this time we have a wall that belonged to the city." So I came back, and it happened that this wall was actually right in front of this guy's house. So I wanted to be smart, and so I was going to write "ala wajhak," which means on your face in Arabic. And then I tried to be a bit smarter, and I wrote "aftah qalbik," which means open your heart. Once in south of Tunisia, I met this camel breeder called Slah Smi'i. I remember we had a beautiful conversation in a cafe, and he told me that sometimes you need somebody from outside to tell you how beautiful you are. And we kept on going on the conversation, and just before he left, he said something actually that's stuck. Actually, now it's been 8 years now. He said in Arabic, "Al-insan alladhi la athara lahu la hayata lahu," which means a man who didn't leave a trace behind didn't have a life. And I think as humans, we all want to leave a trace behind. We all want to leave a trace for the future generation. We all want to leave a legacy behind, And I like that. Thank you, guys. Yeah. Now, so we all want to leave a legacy behind. And me as an artist, I think at a certain point, I wanted to leave my trace. So I started traveling the world, meeting new people, discovering new culture, and leaving my trace, thinking that, I was leaving a trace in people's life. But fast enough, I realized that actually all these people that I was meeting were the ones that were leaving something in my life, So it was not about me anymore. It was about, like the community that I meet. And today I really believe, and I strongly believe that art is the strongest tool, actually one of the most powerful tools to bring people, culture, and generation together. And talking about generation, I don't think I will be here today if it was not because of my daughter. She's 11 today, and actually I quit my job as a business consultant 11 years ago, the day before she was born. So in a certain way, she inspired me to chase my dream. So, and I think many women have inspired me, and some of them are here in the audience. My mom, my wife, my sister, Latifa, dédicace. And yeah, so yeah, I was inspired by a lot of women, so I got lost actually in this emotional moment. And you know, sometimes as an artist, you know, when you want to catch the attention about a subject that is dear to you, you need to create eye-catching artwork. So this is what I'm trying to do, and this is why I create such a big art pieces. And few months ago, I decided to go to Nepal. You know, after I heard about these women who have been rebuilding their own houses after the earthquake of 2015. So actually, women in Nepal have been taking a leading role into the reconstruction of society. So in the epicenter of the earthquake, in a small village called Gironchur, there was a group of women who have been trained into construction work, and they have created some workshop where they produce their own earthquake-resistant bricks. So as an artist, I wanted to go there and to check on this story, but for me it was more important to actually give an homage to all the women who inspire me by creating a project with this woman and by highlighting the struggle of this woman in Nepal. So we grew with a group of 12 women during 4 weeks. We have created an art piece that spread all around the village, you know, connecting each house with the other one, and connecting the story of each woman to the other one as well. Here, there is Binita. Binita, she was actually the leader of the group. Out of the 12 women, she was always like so enthusiastic about everything we were doing. And there was a religious holiday during the project. And remember, she's like, I don't care, I'm just going to work with you. And Binita, actually, she was in love with her husband. And when she married, she moved to Gironchur. She's from a higher social class. But she told me about her struggle and you know, like her journey in life. And it was really interesting to hear her, as she was always saying that she wanted to be a model for her daughter and for the women of the community. And she kept on saying during the whole project that she wants people to look at her and say, I want to be like her. You know, so actually we named the project like her. So. And unconsciously, when you think about building a house, we have the image of a man. But when you think of building a home, we have the image of a woman. So imagine a woman building a home and a house. So she must have like some superpower. Yeah. You know, I said earlier that when the artwork is in the public space, it doesn't belong to me anymore. So I try to detach myself as much as I can. You know, so it's for the public, and they work with it, and it can be destroyed the next day. No, I shouldn't say this, because actually the artwork that we created in Gironchur was destroyed the day after we finished it. You know, there was a huge storm, and as you can see, we tried to create some bamboo connection, and we use wood and bamboo like to connect all the houses. But the next day, like the storm has destroyed part of the art installation. I was sad, but I was like, that's part of the game. You know, I said I detached my heart from it, so I did. But what was interesting is like all the women, they gathered together, and they say, actually, we're gonna rebuild it. And within few hours, they just put everything back up. And I was so surprised. And they told us, I mean, to me and my team, they said, you know, this artwork belongs to us. This is ours. And I love the way they took a sense of pride and a sense of ownership of the piece. Some women in the village told me that they were going into circle. And I didn't really understand what they meant by this. They were saying that, you know, a kid is born, he go to school, and then he need to stop school around grade 10 because the school fee are too expensive, and so they get out of school. Then they get married, then they bring a kid to the world, and the kid go through the same process, and so it's a kind of circle. And so with my team, we started, actually, we launched an education program. So far, we have like 2 girls who are back in school. And when I look at the artwork, I realize that actually it's, there is this circle shape that, it's a universal shape that everybody can recognize. But it's one of the letters which coming out of it, kind of going toward the future. I think it's a beautiful metaphor of what this project is about, trying together, like at least to change the destiny of one person. And as an artist, I do my part, and I think there's so many people doing the same in their old field, as artists, as sport people, or as scientists, or politicians, I would say. And this is what I'm trying to do, like bring my part. And I hope that each of us will do the same by bringing their small part into trying to make this place a better place. Thank you. Thank you, Mo. Should I stay? Okay.
I'll be right there.
Yeah, okay.
Give me some support. I don't know if I could do it. I'm almost there.
Come, please.
All right, here we go. Life is like a winding road, just like your stories.
True.
The first time I heard about you, I heard this word, Calligrafitti. I would love to hear what you think about that, but also what inspired you as an artist?
So the word calligraphy, just to correct that, a lot of people associate it to me, and even me when, I think 2007, I put calligraphy, graffiti as a calligrafitti, and I thought I've created a word. But you go back into in the 70s in the US, some people were using that, and there was a show in 1984 at the Leila Heller Gallery in New York that was created by Jeffrey Deitch, and they tried to bring Iranian calligrapher with a writer, like street artist from New York, and they brought them together in a show. And Jeffrey Deitch, at this time, he said, like, within a few years, those two practices will merge together. So me, today, I don't use my work, I don't define my work as calligrafitti because I feel the word has lost so much of its meaning, but I think there's so much stuff that inspired me. Like I find inspiration. I wouldn't say like I sit by the beach and I look at the sunlight, it's not like that. I think it's by meeting people, by reading books, by traveling, you find inspiration every single thing of your life, That's how I look at it.
Yeah, no, I dig it. Like even from your slides, it seems like you get inspired by the people that you meet, just everyday people.
Yeah, actually that's the point of it. I got a project that was inspired by, I remember there was this guy who came, he almost insulted me about a project that I did, and actually he gave me this kind of clash with him, give me an idea for a next project, so you never know where it's coming from, so I love this, it's unexpected.
Your roots are local, your work is global. How can we use art to bring people, countries, continents together? I
think that's what I try to do with my work, and when you use art, you call to emotion. Emotion is what makes us all humans. And when you bring art to people, you don't have to explain it, you don't have to translate it. You just bring an emotion to you, and that's what makes what we are. And I think for me, art. That's why I was saying in the talk. This is for me the most powerful tool to bring people together. And I don't just believe it, I live it, I saw it, so I witnessed it in so many places, and I love that.
What are some of the stories you're telling through your art medium?
The stories?
You spoke about some of them, but...
Yeah, I think I try to tell the story of people that we don't hear about, like this woman in Nepal. When I talk about the project, so many people are saying, like, this is crazy, I never heard about this, some even Nepali people. And for example, the garbage community, the garbage collector community in Cairo, some people in Egypt told me like we didn't know those people existed. When they see them every day, actually picking up the garbage in front of them. And sometimes I think art is a good way to, switch, like make people look at stuff in a different way, and that's why it's powerful, you know. So I do it on my own way with calligraphy, and I think people do it with other medium, and that's the power of art. It's, I think, infinite.
Yeah. I also noticed that you chose specific communities, and if I may use this term, the unseen.
In a way,
You know,
yeah.
yeah.
I think.
What draws you to that?
Hmm?
What draws you to that?
Because I feel this is where you find the most human people. You know, when you go to a place like that, when they, they have nothing, or literally, like they live, like their way of living is the simple way you can find, and you see how they open the doors to you. You know, like okay, actually they deserve for me, you know, to come and spend some time here. You know, actually, I don't know if I deserve, but they welcome me, you know, in a certain way, and that's what I said, you know, sometimes like this camel breeder who told me like, you need somebody from outside to tell you how beautiful you are. And the story of this woman are just amazing, you know, and you hear, you know, like when I say like in the talk, I collect moments, I keep them, you know, and I'm here as an artist. I think I don't want to be the voice of somebody. I want to be the echo of the voice of somebody, you know. I'm not here to speak on behalf of the women of Nepal or the Cairo garbage collector. I'm just like a kind of amplifier of their story.
You had an emotional moment on stage, but what was your most emotional project that you worked on?
Emotional project, I think all of them are like, they all have like a deep place in my heart, you know, like, and when I say deep place, it's not because of the artistic challenge, it's because I will say because of the people that you meet, you know, like, and all of them, you know, like I try to stay in touch with everybody. Sometimes it's not easy, but you're always like now with WhatsApp and Facebook, you always like send a message, you know, and I remember last week I was speaking with one of the women in Nepal, and I don't speak Nepali and they don't speak English, you know, and we just spent like 1 minute, you know, on WhatsApp, just
Google Translate.
yeah, not even me. I was singing a Nepali song, and she laughed, and that's it, and we just say bye, you know, and everybody was happy, and I think we can create some universal language, and I think for me art is a universal language, as such as smile. When you smile to people, everybody has a smile, you know, and this is I think I try to look at the universality in what we are.
What does your project calendar look like for the foreseeable future, and what sort of projects excite you, in case there's somebody in the audience looking to commission a project?
You know, it's the story. For me, that's the story. What's the purpose of doing it? You know, like if you invite me to come and paint a wall, I've done it. It's nice, you know, but it's not about that. It's about what is the story? How do you highlight a community? How do you speak about a topic that maybe people don't hear about? You know, how do you make people discover a place? You know, and for me, it's art is also education. So that's how I look at it in a certain way.
And to round it off, at the end of the day, it's great to do what you love in art, but it also has to pay the bills.
Yeah.
So as an artist, what does the art scene look like today? Is it accessible? Is it aspirational? Is it diverse? Is it inclusive? I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I think it's all that in one. I mean, all of these, but many more, I would say, you know. The art scene, sometimes what I regret is to see that the artists are not included into the, I would say in the creative and artistic dialogue, you know. Today I'm so happy that this is happening in Dubai, because there is so much subject that need to be talked and tackled, and you know, like we've been talking about intellectual property, and I see that one of the main subjects is that here in the conference, and this is such an important subject here in the Arab world, in the world in general. And me as an artist, you know, I'm not talking on behalf of anybody, but we have been facing a lot of issue with copyright, and I think it's time, you know, to take action. So I'm glad, you know, there's a platform like this forum to speak about that.
Thank you, brother. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for your stories.
Thank you. Thanks
a round of
for having me.
applause for
Thank you.
Seed.